I am stubborn and impulsive, and I have a huge ego. It's not a very flattering way to start this out. Unfortunately, there's a list as long as my arm of other negative traits that I have, character flaws, behavioral issues, things about myself that I've wished for most of my 53 years that I could change. I have been on a journey for the last 7 years that has shown me a different way of thinking about all these negative traits that I have. And all the times in my life when I've thought, I just wish I was normal. I think differently about that now, and I hope that by sharing my story with you today, it will challenge you to think differently just a little bit about what it really means to be normal. My story really starts back in 1981 when I met my husband, Alan. We were students at the University of Alabama, and he was studying business and playing drums in rock and roll bands. I was studying ballet and bagging groceries and teaching ballet to pay for college. We got married 5 years later, and we started our life together armed with not much more than a diploma and my student loan debt. 10 years after college, we were able to scrape by on just one income, and I left the workforce to be a stay-at-home mom. And I thought that that was the highest rung of the financial ladder we were ever going to climb. It never occurred to me that Alan might make a whole lot of money. I mean, the plan when we met in college was that we were going to end up in LA where he was going to play drums in a bar band, and I was going to be a backup dancer in Paula Abdul videos. It could still happen. Anyway, around 1997, Alan's career started gaining some momentum, and by 2005, we were 45 years old, and we were just very surprised to find ourselves living right smack dab in the middle of the American dream. We have a beautiful home. We took elaborate vacations. I have a lot of fabulous shoes. There's still days when I feel like I'm living somebody else's life. But then a really weird thing happened. As we just heard about weird things, Alan got a tap on his shoulder. I came across a quote a couple of years ago from Sir Winston Churchill, and when I read it, I said, well, I'll be darned, that's exactly what happened to Alan and me. Churchill said, in each person's life, there comes a moment when they are figuratively tapped on the shoulder and given the chance to do a very special thing, unique to them and fitted to their talents. What a tragedy, he said, if that moment should find them unprepared or unqualified for that which could have been their finest hour. Now, the first I knew of Alan getting a tap on his shoulder was one Friday night when we were sitting at home talking about nothing. And out of the blue, Alan said, "Is this all there is? Are you just supposed to work hard and make a bunch of money and then spend the rest of your life buying stuff?" And I said, well, I like the shoes. Can't we just keep buying stuff? And he said, you know what? We don't need any more stuff. I want to do something with this money I've made that's going to make a difference in somebody else's life. It took us about a year to figure out exactly what that was going to look like. We knew we wanted to do something related to the arts, and we knew that we didn't want to just write a check. We wanted to be involved as volunteers. And eventually his tap on the shoulder led him to this. All I can say is he has a lot of vision. This was Mary Mac Hall in 2006. We were granted nonprofit status by the Internal Revenue Service, and we contributed all the money to renovate this building, and for 13 months, Alan painstakingly restored it. Today, it looks like this, and it's home to a lovely little 300... Thank you. Thank you, Alan. It is home to a lovely little 302-seat theater and a dance studio and other spaces, and we opened to the public in July of 2007 to great fanfare, and lots of wonderful things started happening right out of the gate. Thousands of people were flocking to the venue to see the touring theatrical productions that we were booking. The surrounding neighborhood was experiencing a great revitalization that many people were crediting to Mary Mac Hall's renovation. I was utterly miserable. I was working 60 or 70 hours a week as a volunteer, trying to run a theater, and I knew nothing about how to do that. And all I was spending my time doing was selling tickets. I felt like P.T. Barnum hawking tickets to some sideshow. And I remember thinking, this is not what I thought we were going to be doing. This isn't making a difference in anybody's life. And that's when I got tapped on the shoulder. Mary Mac Hall had been open for about 90 days, and it was one of those rare nights when I was home early enough to cook supper for my family, and the television was on in the other room, and in the background I heard Tom Brokaw say, "When we come back, we're going to meet some special ballerinas." So I moved away from the stove to see who the ballerinas were. The news segment was about a physical therapist who had integrated ballet into her therapy practice for 5 little girls who had cerebral palsy, little girls who couldn't walk, but wanted to take ballet like their big sisters did. And I felt a tap on my shoulder. I got a lump in my throat. I thought, I could do that. But then whatever I was cooking started to burn, and I forgot all about those little girls for a couple of weeks until I picked up a People magazine. And there was a feature story on the very same woman, and I felt that tap on my shoulder again. The newspaper article had her email address in it, and so I contacted her, and we ended up talking on the phone. And I told her that I wanted to do what she was doing, but all she could talk about was medical malpractice insurance and liability, and she said that I wasn't qualified. It looked like a dead end, but I just couldn't get those 5 little girls out of my head. And that tap on my shoulder, well, it started to feel more like a nudge. So I decided I'd ask some questions. I didn't have a child with special needs. I didn't know anybody who did. I started with my children's pediatrician, and I worked my way through a list of anybody I could think of that might have any answers for me. And the more questions I asked, the stronger that tap on my shoulder became, until eventually it felt like a punch. Because the answer to every question I asked was no. No. Children with special needs can't just go to a dance studio and sign up and take class. No, there's really not a whole lot of after-school enrichment activities that kids with special needs can do at all. No, there's nowhere in our community where people with special needs can fully experience the arts. Not only did all these people tell me no, but they told me not you. They said, "You don't know anything at all about people with special needs. Just because you think you got tapped on the shoulder doesn't mean you're supposed to do anything." They said, "Didn't Winston Churchill say you're supposed to be qualified?" Well, that's when my ego kicked in, and I said, "Qualified? I'll show you qualified. I'll just make it up myself." One of Huntsville's best attorneys helped me figure out a way around that liability issue. Alan and I hired a young dance teacher named Haley Henderson. We asked her if she knew anything about teaching dance to kids with special needs, and she said no, but she was willing to try, and that was enough for us. I knew that I didn't want to limit this dance class to just one type of disability. I wanted any child who'd ever been denied access to the arts to be able to join in, but that was creating a unique teacher-pupil ratio problem. So we came up with the idea of recruiting teenagers and training them to provide one-on-one assistance to each of our students. And on October 15th, 2008, we started one little dance class with 10 children and 10 volunteers. Today, that one little dance class has grown up, and it's now a comprehensive year-round program of visual and performing arts education and a day habilitation program that's serving almost 500 people in our community. And those first 10 thank you. Those first 10 volunteers, well, they're 260-something teenagers that come every week and assist children with special needs. It's been 7 years since I got that tap on my shoulder. That tap on the shoulder led me to do something I never could have imagined. It's introduced me to people that I never would have met. And that tap on my shoulder started a chain reaction that is so much bigger than Alan and me. It's a chain reaction that's caused an entire community to be formed now, a community of lives that never would have intersected if it hadn't been for that one little dance class. That's the really cool things about those taps on the shoulder. Every one of you is going to get one. And you never know when that tap on the shoulder is going to come, and you never know where it's going to lead you. And when you get your tap, you may think you don't have what it takes to answer it, but you do. Those taps on the shoulder come to us because they're supposed to, because the tap that you get is the one that is uniquely fitted to you and your talents, just like Winston Churchill said. Now, every now and again, my ego would shut down long enough for me to think about the fact that it really was kind of weird that I found my life's calling at the age of 47, and that it was doing something that I didn't have any qualifications to do. But it took one of my students to show me that Winston Churchill was right. I was qualified. This is a picture of Abby and my son Austin. This picture was taken about a year ago. Today, Abby is 14 and Austin is 22, and they're both here with me this afternoon. Back when Abby was 12, she said the most important thing that anybody's ever said to me in my life. Abby has cerebral palsy. And what she said was about Austin, who started smoking pot when he was 13, and by the time he was 19, my son was shooting heroin. Abby always knew about Austin's struggle with addiction, and anytime he was away at an alternative school or a residential treatment program, Abby knew about it, and she always asked me for updates on his progress. And so in the summer of 2012, when Austin was away at what would be his final treatment program, as he is well into his second year of being clean and sober, Abby, yes. Abby asked me how he was doing. I said, "We think this is it, Abby. We think he's going to stay clean for good." And she said, "Oh, I knew he could do it." She said, "I'm so happy." She said, "Miss Debra, I've been thinking about Austin a lot lately, and thinking about him has made me realize something." She said, "Everybody has special needs, and we all have two special needs in common." She said, "We all have the special need to be loved, and we all have the special need to be accepted." And then she said, "Some people's special needs are on the outside, like mine, and some people's special needs are on the inside, like Austin's." And that's when I knew that no one could have been more prepared or more qualified than me to answer that tap on my shoulder, because I do have a child with special needs. And I have special needs, and so does Alan, and so does our daughter Emma, just like Abby said. And so do you. My special needs aren't on the outside. I've told you about 3 of them. Spend about 5 minutes with me and you'll discover about 300 more. Every one of us are going to struggle our whole lives to rid ourselves of things that we wish we didn't have. And we're all going to struggle with things that interfere with our ability to get everything we want out of life. Our special needs are going to manifest themselves in different ways in each one of us. Maybe we won't be able to sustain a marriage or be a good partner to another person. Maybe we'll have trouble holding down a job. Maybe we won't know how to be a trusted friend or a loving parent. There's a million ways, but you make no mistake. If you're a human, you have special needs. The hundreds of people with special needs who come to Mary Mac Hall every week are routinely marginalized and left out because our society says that they're not normal. Will you tell me, who is normal? What is normal? These are the people who have shown me that we are all more alike than we are different, and that there's absolutely no such thing as normal. There's only one place in this whole world you're going to find normal, and that's in your laundry room on the dials of your dryer. Because normal, it's a dryer setting. Thank you. Thank you very much.